Hey everyone, and welcome to another issue of TSW Comics, where we take a look between the pages of Marvel's Star Wars comics. I'm one of your hosts, Tim, and joining me this week, as always, my dude, Rob Cast.
Hey guys, we're back.
We are back. We're finally back. It is 2019. Another big year in Star Wars comics has just passed us by, and we're walking towards what could be one of the biggest years in Star Wars ever. But today we're here to talk all things comics. Like I said, it's been a few weeks since we've been at the mic, a few months probably, since we've been at the mic here in TSW Comics. So we got a whole bunch of really great things to run down, including a more detailed breakdown of this Vader series. Rob, my man, this series just blew my brain apart from start to finish. But these last few issues have done something special again.
Yes, again, we'll get into the series, and everybody knows our thoughts on the. We wax poetic about this last Vader series, so it finishes strong. So stay tuned for that, and we'll get into that.
We will for sure. And now we're also going to be talking a little bit about this Age of Republic series. This is something that actually I'm finding myself really enjoying. We're going to talk to some of the comics that are coming out in 2019, trying to predict what we may see announced at, say, Celebration, SDCC 2019, or New York Comic Con. And then we're gonna actually take a deep dive into this Vader series. We're gonna go back and talk about some of our favorite arcs. We're gonna talk about what's happened in this last issue or two, and also where this puts the character of Vader for future content. So we've got a lot to discuss this week. But Rob, how the first couple weeks of 2019 been for you, man?
Fantastic. It's been great. I've enjoying enjoying a little bit of time off. It's that time of year where you got the Christmas holidays, but I kind of bump mine on either end. So it's been nice to be able to pick up a comic on your nightstand and be able, this is really good. I'm going to grab another one, and without looking at the clock going, no, old man, go to bed. So it's been great. Yeah, yourself?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I found myself really taking a deep dive back into comics. This is something I've been focused in on in the last couple of months especially. But same as you, over the holidays, I found myself saying, okay, I can read an extra comic a night. And I found myself going to the shop on Wednesdays, getting my pull lists up again. So I've had an absolute blast with the content that's coming out in Star Wars in particular, because it's good, but it's also coming at us pretty quick. We've got these Age of series that are really rolling through, the end of the Vader series, some of the other stuff from going back in Marvel Unlimited. My goal here this year is to get the Poe and Star Wars series finished, or at least the Star Wars series up to date. I've even looked back at some of the adaptations that we've discussed in the past, and maybe trying to read through some of those, because they're all up on a Marvel Unlimited, which makes them really accessible for me now.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, and also, too, just a quick public service announcement. I know the holidays can be hectic, but anybody that has a regular pull list with your local comic book shop, I'm talking the brick and mortar places where you go in every Wednesday for your new pulls, make sure to make a trip there within the next week or two. Grab all your pull list, because, sometimes you stop in once a month to clean up. A lot of these guys are waiting to sell off everything they've ordered from last year, and they need to tidy up the books. We're not getting into a whole tax discussion, but it'd be nice if they can clear out last year's stock, or that's in their filing cabinet. So just take a second or take a couple minutes, drive down your local store, make sure your pull list is nice and clean, you're all caught up, and then that way these guys can keep the brick and mortar stores going, so we have a place to go on Wednesday to pick up our beloved floppies. So
yes, that's a great point. And then, because they order them extra, right? Those aren't part of their, what they're going to sell to the generic public. Those are on top of that. So yeah,
exactly.
They need to get these rolling through and kind of get a clean slate for 2019. And that's kind of what we're doing here too. So just a little bit of house cleaning before we jump into the comics discussion. Now, I know I've been in particular a bit more difficult to get at the mic to record this. So given we're short a few series, we got Celebration coming up here, and we're hoping to do stuff there as well. We're actually going to drop these monthly TSW comic releases down to bi-monthly, or every 2 months. Just to give us something that, or at least me in particular, because I've got a kid coming on the way, a new baby. I've got another one who's actually in the room with me right now. And it's just a little hectic, but I want to continue to deliver good content, but I want to get it a bit more consistent. And so we talked a little bit, myself and Rob. We talked with the Admiral and all that. And so we're going to drop this down just for at least the first 6 months or so. as we roll into the new year here, so that we can get something out to you guys that is predictable, it's consistent, and we're getting the right quality into your ear holes. That's what I want to do with that. That's what we want to do with that. So hopefully that's cool with you guys, at least until I get comfortable with a new baby and then we get through celebration and all that. So
yeah. And also, too, what we do here is really deep dives. And, of course, you and I, we both have weekly podcasts. Of course, I still got the TSW Roundtable. We're not walking away from podcasting.
No.
And also, if you want, if you need your comic fix every week, stop by the Nerd Room. Like, I know I'm not going to. I know Tim wouldn't say it, but he has an excellent show. It's the Nerd Room. It's on the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Check that out. If you need a little deeper dive, come on over here to TSW Comics. But you never know. If there's a huge announcement. Yeah. Maybe Rob might swing by the Nerd Room and poke his head in if there's something to be discussed in the moment. But
yes, definitely.
Don't worry. We got you covered.
Yeah, if there's major content, if we're seeing big things dropping, of course, we're going to get at the mics. We're going to make that time. But to give you guys kind of a rounded out show, something with good content, good discussion here, it's going to be every 2 months now. So that being said, I think it's time we get into some of this comic talk. We've been waxing poetic here for a few minutes. I want to get into discussing some of what you've been reading, Rob. I know the pull list it's shrinking here. We've lost the Poe series, we're losing the Vader series, but there's still quite a bit of content out there to consume in the Star Wars comic world. What have you been up to? What have you been reading in this little bit of downtime that you've had?
Well, again, as usual, the Star Wars ongoing. I keep up with that. Dr. Aphra, same thing. Finishing up, obviously, the Vader series. We're going to get into in a bit here. Of course, we got the new Age of Republic series that started off. These are one-offs that are coming out. We'll get into that a little bit later. I've been on those. What else has been going on? I really shrunk my pull list down because I wanted to, again, get it to a more manageable level. Like I said, when they start piling up on your nightstand. Yeah, they're hard to. You want to consume them all, but then you're going to bed at midnight. It's like, oh wow, this is horrible. We got to work the next day. So, other than that, of course, Fantastic Four. I notice a lot of the Marvel runs have been having tributes, obviously, to Stan Lee because now, since his passing, now we're getting the cover art as a tribute to him because it's been a month or two since. So the books have caught up with the news, basically.
Yes, it's the black bands you're getting on all of them. They've changed all that cover art.
Yeah, so that's been really cool to see. Well, it's really nice to see the tributes going out there. Of course, Star Trek. I am by Star franchise. I enjoy both. I love the Star Trek, so I can continually to pull anything they have coming out, especially with the IDW stuff. It's been really awesome, and they've been having like little series, I guess, with this Discovery and going back to the Next Generation crew. It's been pretty cool. So if you want to take a deep dive into Star Trek, go to the IDW and you'll find a whole treasure trove of stuff there. Other than that, not too much. Like if obviously big events come up, I pick it up, but nothing out of the ordinary for me.
Yeah, it's seemingly been a relatively quiet in the first part of 2019. I was looking at some of the solicitations for January, February, March, and it's really focused around that Star Wars main series, Aphra, Imperial Cadet. Have you been reading that, the Star Wars Imperial Cadet? Yeah. Is it any good? I looked at it yesterday when I was at the shop, and I was like, maybe I should pick this up, or maybe it's a bit more of a trade read. I'm not sure. Is there content there to chew on?
Yeah, I trade read for sure. And again, that's not a slight on the book. It's almost like when Solo movie came out. Solo movie, is it a Star Wars movie? Of course it is. Is it a good movie? Yeah, it is. Do you want it like the saga movies? No. It's like one of those. It's like it's not as, I find it not as good as the main run, but it's cool and you're in the universe, so definitely a trade pickup for sure.
Yeah, I look at a lot of these 5-issue miniseries now as a trade pickup or something I wait for to drop on Marvel Unlimited. I want to get that content, but I have a hard time. I don't know, and I'm finding this with all comic reading more so lately, is that I like this binge reading where I can get through 6 issues, 5 issues, an arc in one sitting or so. I find that I get way more out of the story when I'm doing that.
And also too, that says a lot about our age. When I let a couple issues pile up, like again, I wanted to get caught up obviously on the ending of the Vader series, so I brushed over the last 4 issues, and now they're on top of mind.
Yes.
So for me, it's like, wait, what happened last month?
Yeah.
Oh. that might just be me, but
Yeah, I find the same way. So my reading's really been focused in on this Age of series. loving this, the Vader series, of course. And like I said, I'm going to drop back into the main series here. I think issue 60 just dropped this January, which is pretty wild. You don't see Marvel Comics climb that high in number count really ever anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been decent. And, it's think about it. It's 60 issues of woven in canon. Like it's pretty interesting. Like so it's we've gotten a lot of cool stuff. We got to see Han in an X-wing. We got to see the Rogue Squadron formation. We got to see, there's a ton of cool stuff in there you can pick up and enjoy.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. And there's also the solo adaptation is running. I believe issue number 3 just dropped. I think this is a 7-issue miniseries as well.
I think so. And again, for me, I have to. I'm a completionist, and I've started pulling the since the Disney takeover. So I need all the floppies with the little 01 in the UPC code at the bottom there. So that's just me. But as far as the movies go, high recommend for trade, just because when you're on the shelf, you can literally again binge the entire Solo movie or the whole entire Rogue One movie, and they are great, and they do add little extra snippets. We've discussed stuff from The Last Jedi with Luke when he disappears at the end of Last Jedi. Spoilers. You get a different. It's the same scene, but you get a different look at it, and a lot of these comics, they give you that deep dive, that give you that little extra something. So it's really cool to have. Any movie adaptation, definitely get them on trades. I know I got the OT trilogy and the prequels on hardcover, and they look fantastic on my shelf.
Yeah, they're collection piece too.
Yeah, exactly. So you really want those to stand out. You don't want to, if you have to go in a long box and start digging for them. Yeah, you might not get to them, but when they're literally right behind you, like, oh yeah, I'll read the Phantom Menace today. Why not?
Yeah, I got to get into that a little more of those adaptations. I know I said that before, but yeah, they're really super conducive to reading in trade. You've seen the movie, you know what's coming, but you're looking for those extra little perspectives, that little bit of extra content to build continuity somewhere else. Those are the benefits from those comic books and the liberties that they're able to take with camera angles, like you've said in the past, with that inner monologue that you don't get on screen. Yeah,
the thought bubble. And also too, I've had a discussion with somebody that's really into the Star Wars novels, and they're great. And if I had more time, I'd read them all. Or if you're like working dads like we are, man, how many hours you got to put aside to chew through a novel? Like, it's almost impossible. So, or if you don't have a job or a commute conducive to listening to the audiobooks, these comics, yes, they're not like the novels, but they are giving you extra Star Wars without, and it's manageable portions.
Yeah, definitely. I fully agree with you. And the one thing that the Star Wars comics have done really well, the art is very consistent. There are some holes. Yeah. There's Potato Leia.
Potato Leia, yes.
But at the end of the day, when you take a look at a Vader series or even these Age of series, they're really well done. You're taking characters that you are familiar with their likeness, and they have to nail how it looks in comics, because we're going to call out when it doesn't. And they've done really well throughout these series. So it's, hats off to Star Wars Comics in 2018. And it's going to be a big 2019, because we're looking down already at this Age of series. We're stuck in the Age of Republic right now. And we're going to go into Age of Rebellion and then Age of Resistance as we go through this year. This is a 26 to 30 issue maxi series. How have you been liking this series? So far, we've got Jango Fett, Obi-Wan, Darth Maul, and Qui-Gon released. Now, these are all prequel era comics, some of them even taking place in between episodes 1 and 2, before episode 1. So we're getting a nice span of content there. What are your thoughts? What are your kind of high-level thoughts on Jango, on Obi-Wan, and that, without really spoiling anything? We're not going to take a deep dive into these just quite yet.
I like them. The only one was Darth Maul. Again, Darth Maul I thought was a lot like the little miniseries he had.
Tied into
I understand. They have to pick up the character and put him right back where they left him. They can't move him forward. But I noticed even the Jango, especially with the stuff with Boba. I know we're not going to spoil it, but you get more to the characters, which is fantastic. And like you're going to explain, you're going to give me extra knowledge on Jango and Boba, and I thought we knew everything about Boba. Like, we even got a teaser clip of how he got the dent in his helmet at last Celebration. Like, I didn't think there's anything you can tell me, but like, no, apparently I can be educated. So really great. Same thing with Qui-Gon Jinn, I thought was fantastic. The Obi-Wan, again, a different slightly perspective, of him with a young Anakin, like really, really cool stuff. And they're actually much like the first Lando one we keep talking about, the Lando mini run that came out when Disney first took over with Marvel Comics. And they don't tamper with the character, but they give you enrich the character, which is really great. So as far as I'm concerned, like we got 4. The Darth Maul one's still good. Except they're 3 home runs. Like they're batting 3 for like it's amazing.
I fully agree with you there, man. I'm loving these, and the thing that we're just talking about how some of these Star Wars comics and some comics in general really lend themselves to waiting on them, reading and run. These are one shots. These give you a full story front to back in each one of these that you can sit down, you can read it in 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how quick you want to plow through the art and that. But I've been loving them. This Django one, I read it last night. It just dropped this week. I loved it.
I thought for sure the Django one was going to be
Me too. It was going to
be the number 4. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I was looking at it being like, okay, I guess I don't get this Django one. It's my favorite one so far.
Yeah.
And that's wow. That's a character I never saw myself wanting more of. But they kind of give you some insight into his early interaction before they start cloning him. It's the Boba stuff. You're getting kind of a look into how his training was being done.
Yep.
It's so good. This Obi-Wan too is kind of gives you that between episode 1 and 2, the training that's going on there. You get the Qui-Gon. It really takes a deep dive into his almost gray Jedi, if I can call it that.
Yeah, I know. Also too, it gives you that parallel with the Yoda arcs, and especially in the Clone Wars. So it's all intertwined. So it's really, again, if I wasn't on a Star Wars specific comics podcast, I might have overlooked Django. Like, I'm gonna leave it on the shelf. Well, and if I wasn't a completionist, let's figure that. So I might have left that on. If I was just your average Star Wars fan, I might have left that on the shelf, and that would have been a huge mistake. Because high recommend.
Yeah, I fully agree with you here, and we got a couple continuing to drop throughout the next couple of months. That's what's really great about this series is that you get 2 issues or sometimes 3 issues a month. They're spread out nicely. They're focused characters. So in February, we've got Anakin Skywalker and a Count Dooku book, which is, 2 characters that let's bring it on. I'm already looking forward to this Count Dooku one because of, potentially what's happened already in Django. In March, we've got Padme and General Grievous, 2 other characters that we haven't seen a ton of focus in the last couple of years. Yeah, we got some books with some of these characters, but I'm really looking forward to the next couple of months in these comics, because even in January here, we've got another one. This is called Age of Republic, Age of Republic, a special edition.
Yep.
So this is an extended issue that has 4 separate stories in it. So we're going to get something that's a bit more kind of streamlined, but we're looking at Mace Windu, Asajj Ventress, Jar Jar Binks, and a Captain Rex story, all in one big issue, which is super exciting. Come on.
And if they knock it out of the park with Jar Jar, like that's it. Like hats off. Like, okay, I don't know. So that's one of those ones where you're gonna be like, why do I? Oh, wow. You never know. It might be delightfully surprised. And again, I love the rebranding.
Yes.
Age of Republic, Age of Rebellion, and what's the next one? Age of Resistance.
Yeah.
It's trying to get fandom out of the habit of saying OT, prequel, and sequel, because unfortunately there's been such a hard stigma with prequel, ugh. But if you say Age of Republic, I love it. I love all the eras. So I just like taking those dirty words out of people's mouths and be like, no. Are you a prequel fan? No, I'm an Age of Republic fan.
Yeah. Well, it brings some nice commonality between it all, right? The age of and the age of R. It kind of just says, it brands it, like you said, across the entirety of the saga, and not splitting into these silos that people may have a tendency to put individual characters or even films and how they're designed, how they're crafted, fall into those buckets, right? And so it's getting away from that and making it more of a continuum across the saga more than anything. And I agree, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's taking away, so that way you don't get a lot of people going, oh, well, I don't like, or they're more, if you said prequel era, it's like, nah. Because they'll have preconceived notions, because maybe that's not their era, or maybe that's not their thing. So I love it. I love the rebranding, and they've been awesome. And again, Django, where'd that come from?
I fully agree. I walked into the shop yesterday and I said, okay, I'm gonna get this Django one. I know we're gonna talk about it tomorrow. And I thought to myself, I'm probably not going to enjoy this, but whatever. I got into it. I couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
I read it front to back, first sitting down. Like I was just upstairs, and I was just, I'll kind of thumb through this a little bit. I was blown away. I went back and was rereading things.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a, and again, if you would have told me at the beginning of this run where you'd be like, okay, some of your favorite parts are obviously going to be Vader, but that's a given. Django, first run of Lando, even the Leia run. There's some things like what? Like I'm gonna no. Yeah, they're doing awesome.
Yeah, they're doing real great things. And as we kind of forge our way into 2019 here, like I said at the top, everything's narrowed out. This Vader series has dropped off. The Poe series ended. So Charles Soule at the moment isn't writing anything, which really hurts. I want to see him jumping back into something. So I'm hoping for an announcement in the not too distant future at some of these conventions. But one comic we do have on the horizon is Star Wars Vader Dark Visions. Now this starts in March with both issues. I believe it's a 5-issue miniseries. And this seemingly is taking the place of what was the Chuck Wendig comic arc that we're going to see of Vader. So the interesting thing about this is we talked about the Chuck Wendig thing before. That's in the past. He kind of been moved off this because of his comments on social media. Okay, whatever. That's in the past. But we're getting a Vader focused series. Now, if you remember when this series first dropped, or at least the description of this new series here, and this comes from writer Dennis Hopeless, which is a very unfortunate last name.
Yeah.
Especially as a writer. But there was the term anti-hero thrown in to the description of this. And when you look at what's posted up on stars.com right now, it's a series about looking at the other side of Vader. And I'm just going to read a quick clip here. There's some corners of the galaxy so dark and desperate that even Vader can be a knight in shining armor. Now, how do you feel about Marvel taking a few liberties with Vader, especially with what we've seen in the last couple series, with what we saw at the end of Rogue One? How do you feel about them trying to put a slightly lighter spin on the character of Darth Vader? It doesn't seem particularly right to me, but let's hear what you got to say.
I like it. Well, I like it, and here's the reason why. If I was watching the movies and reading the comics, let's say if I was brand new to Star Wars and I'm like, hey, here is, and you're going to start watching them in chronological order as far as the universe. Like if you go on Wikipedia and see the timeline, and like, okay, I watch Phantom Menace, and then I read these books, and then I read these comics, and then I watch Attack of the Clones, and I wouldn't want them to tip their hand and say, oh, look, Vader is struggling somewhere. Vader does have a spark of light in him because it would spoil Return of the Jedi. You know, you understand what I'm saying? But now in hindsight, we know he's conflicted. We know there's something buried way deep inside. So if we're going to kick that door open a little bit and take a peek, I have no problem with it. Like I said, just because we can't be spoiled. You know what I mean? It's not like if we read this in the order of, not in order of release, but order of the timeline, then you'd be like, oh, Return of the Jedi, the ending would be spoiled because, I saw this coming because I read that arc. You know what I mean? So because it's done in hindsight, and pardon the pun, we got a friend that does hindsight stuff, but because it's done in hindsight, I have no problem with it because we know what's there. The spark is there. Actually, let's take a peek.
That's a good point because my first reaction to this, especially when they've taken the word anti-hero out of the description, the official description now, that was what was released when they announced the book. But putting it into that context about, and especially what we just seen in this Vader series, he does walk that line. And I like what they did in this Vader series because it does show the struggle, but then it also shows Vader being Vader.
Yeah.
I just don't want him walking into a place and being like, I'm here to save you. I know he's not going to do that. I know they're not going to do that. But I want it to be, say, when people are looking at him on the lighter side of things, this knight in shining armor, if you will, it's got to be self-motivated. Like they have to put this underlying tone that he's there not to save them. Saving them is a consequence of him getting another list or him doing something that serves himself. He needs to have that selfish aspect to him while he's maybe saving other people and there's benefits there. Oh, Vader, you've come to liberate us. Like, you know what I mean? It's this mentality that people are seeing Vader in a different light, but he's acting no different. I don't want him going in there and being like, I'm here to save you type thing.
Yeah, no, you want him to be like, oh, Vader, you saved our planet. No, I saved your planet because you have a ton of kyber crystals.
Yes,
and
exactly. Yeah,
and you being saved is a happy coincidence. It's the way I look at it. It'd be almost like we have no idea. We have no inside info. Podcasters, we're not at the storyboard meetings with Star Wars. So right now we're 11 months away from Episode 9. Now let's say if Kylo Ren has a turn and he is quote unquote redeemed after Episode 9, it'd be like us getting a comic book series of hinting at his redemption right now. No, terrible idea. But afterwards, yeah, sure, no problem. You know what I mean? Like it would be. I don't need that information right now because I don't want the movie spoiled. But afterwards, next year, if they have a little thing of a sides run of Kylo Ren where it shows hints of his redemption, then that's fine. So.
Yeah, I fully agree with you there. It's I don't want a Kylo Ren redemptive arc. That's something that
no, of course not. No,
I'm not into. But seeing cracks in these characters, I'm okay with. But they just have to be very careful with how they treat these certain things. So I am looking forward to Star Wars Dark Visions here. Like I said, it drops in March. We get a couple issues. It's a 5-issue miniseries, so we'll see this kind of really this story at least stretch out into kind of the middle part of the year. So it's more a Vader series. It's more of what we love. But 2019, we don't have a ton of content at least that's going to continue throughout 2019. We're going to see this Imperial Cadet series and the Solo adaptation is going to end. We're getting a short issue for Vader. All we've really got is Aphra and the main series at this point on top of the Age of stuff. So what do you want, or what are you predicting that could come out in 2019 as far as the comics go? We've seen a ton of stuff published in this Star Wars era, New Hope era. We've seen some of the Republic stuff done. We've gotten the Poe series. Like, what era do you want them to focus in on? Where do you want comics to go in 2019?
I would say in a movie year, in a saga movie year, I would say we're going to get a run-up little miniseries up to Episode 9. But depending when Episode 9 jumps if they do a fast forward a year, like I highly doubt they're going to handle the General Leia demise or because we lost Carrie Fisher. Obviously they're not going to handle that in a comic series leading up to Episode 9. So they're kind of handcuffed as far as what they do there. I can see them doing a little bit. You mean that we don't know about? Maybe something, or maybe a character, or maybe one of the arcs from Episode 9, like have Finn go off and get his driver's license, or I don't know. You mean like something like it, but it's not. It's going to be. That's the point. It's going to be so benign and so have no consequence on the movie going public. Like, so if they do a run up, it's going to be very. What can they do without spoiling anything?
Well, and that's it too. Like we've seen in the past in the run up to the main saga series in particular, is that they usually do the road to Episode 9. And so there's some expectation. Yeah, of course, we're going to get some comics that probably tie into this in a very loose fashion.
Very loose, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't seen it done to any degree that maybe we as the people that are consuming canon this way want it to be done, because they just can't, right? And we're not going to have something that's as impactful as say even a Lando series or some of this Age of series that we're seeing. It's going to be on the periphery until that story is told, until JJ's story is complete. We can't have the expectation that we're going to get some reveal of Leia's death if they're going to do it off screen in Episode 9. We're not going to get any of that. No. So my expectation is a couple nice series, maybe announced mini-series is more what I'm looking forward to. And just giving us a bit more insight into some of these characters that we're familiar with right now. And then when Episode 9 comes to an end, if we want to backfill all this stuff in 2020, I'm game. Once those stories are told, once we've had that Snoke story even kind of the edges beveled off of it, and they can say, okay, comic writers, creators, go at it. I have nothing more to say on screen. Then I'm fully into that.
Exactly. That was my thoughts exactly. Once they finish off this next trilogy, then they can, like you said, backfill the whole thing. We can get Days before Snoke dies, a miniseries.
Yes.
We can get like all sorts of stuff. They could, you can even have a little Rey standalone thing about her. Yeah, I know we've been getting a lot of that in the young stuff in Forces of Destiny, and of course the Star Wars Adventures and the IDW. But you can really take deep dives in between the stuff. Like I can't wait for that to happen, but I will wait because we're going to get a lot of good stuff in between. So
yeah, definitely. And they're going to take advantage of Celebration this year in particular at announcing things that are coming. And given the fact that everything is slimmed down, we went from, now I would never say it bloated, but there's quite a few more ongoing miniseries running at the same time here. By the time we get to Celebration, we're probably only going to have 2 main series running.
Oh,
and
5 days Celebration. I know we're getting the bonus Thursday. Now, I know San Diego Comic-Con does this. They have because everybody arrives Thursday morning, and then they open it up Thursday afternoon for everybody to go. But yeah, they're gonna have a lot. They're gonna have a ton of stuff. I mean, I know Monday is gonna be closing ceremonies and stuff. But wow, that's in between. That's 3 solid days of without opening or closing or sneak previews. It's just blah.
Yeah.
Celebration.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to it. So we're gonna keep our finger on the pulse here. I'm at this point in time, with the arrival of a second child being poorly timed in proximity to Celebration.
See, you were just so excited when you got your passes.
Oh, I know.
So, oh my goodness.
It's so funny how life works, right? It's we've got quite a few years between our kids, and the one arrives, minutes before Celebration. So the base plan, I do have a 5-day pass. My base plan at this point is to hopefully get there for at least Friday, Saturday. Yep. Some of that's going to be baby and wife dependent, but the plan is to get there at least for enough time to hit the floor, experience it, record some podcasts with yourself and the guys from, I know Cody from Rogue Squad, he just in one of our DM groups, he just put out there this picture of all the equipment he's bringing. So it's going to be quite a lot of fun with everyone from the Commonwealth and recording podcasts. So I'm almost more looking forward to just being in the atmosphere, meeting a lot of you guys, recording, talking comics, talking releases, toy releases, having you follow me around and saying, Tim, okay, enough's enough. A mortgage payment on a toy probably isn't the best idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I will literally be your wife's best friend. and also too, I know people that went to Orlando on the last Celebration, and because Star Wars is getting more and more popular, this thing is sold out so fast.
Yes,
I think there's only, as of our recording, there's only Monday tickets left. It's going to be great, but so many people do that. Oh, I'm going to go for 2 days, but then the next time, that's when they clear their schedule. Going, oh, it's like the heartache of flying home, knowing there's another 2 more days of Celebration it's weird because also too, you also have, when I was there in Orlando, I went the full 4 days, but by Sunday it's a lot, you know, and it's a lot of walking, and you've seen all the booths, and you've done all the meetups, and you've seen what you want to see. But what gets you motivated on that Sunday, or this year on that Monday, will be like, you know what? Next weekend there will be no Celebration, and I'm going to want to go to Celebration, so I'm going to make the most of it. You know what I mean? I'm going to, I went to San Diego Comic-Con this last July. And 4 days, it was a lot because, again, we've seen everything. We've done everything we want to do. It was almost like I wish I could go, Tim, take my Sunday. But obviously with all the travel and everything, you can't do that. You mean, because it's not a local event. I wish I could have given you my Sunday or Saturday at San Diego Comic-Con so you can experience that too. Because I'm like, you know what? I've seen this for 3 days in a row. Yeah, I know somebody that would really enjoy this Sunday way more than I am right now. You know, it's like, so it'll be cool. And again, we look forward to seeing it. If any of our listeners are at Celebration,
just let us know. Us out. Yeah, hit us up on Twitter or whatever. And we're in the moment in process of making plans. We got to get real serious about them because we only got a few months here. We're in the Celebration year. Which is
it's 8 as of now. It's 88 days away.
88 days, wild. So there's a peek behind the curtain. You know exactly when we record relative to when this drops. All right, man. that was 2019 is looking really great. It looks like a lot of fun. There's a lot of anticipation going in there. But 2018, it ended in a big way for Star Wars comics. We've been talking about this Vader series since I jumped into TSW Comics, which was, I think, like a year and a half or so ago. So we've gotten 25 issues. This comes from writer Charles Soule and the art by Giuseppe Camicoli. This book has been one of our key focuses on this podcast. We've been shedding praise on it from front to back. There's some real highlight issues here. This thing takes really relatively almost no dips in quality. It goes up and down a little bit with a few issues, but overall, this series delivered probably the best 25 consistent issues that I've seen in comic books in a very, very long time.
Yeah, I have to agree. And again, I've had I wasn't disappointed, but like even like was it the underwater Vader stuff? Like there were some things where I was like, but it was still good. You mean, but measured to the rest of if you just picked up those standalones in a little miniseries, even the arcs that were the worst arcs in this series are still great comics.
Oh yeah, fantastic content. They do a lot for the character Vader. I'm still surprised at how much free reign they gave Charles Soule to go through things like, when you look at some of the main themes here, becoming Vader is a huge main theme in this comic book. His journey from Anakin Skywalker, we pick up literally at the end of Revenge of the Sith with this comic book. Yep. And we see him in his early days as Vader, struggling between the light and the dark, his decisions that he made relative to Padme, and this Emperor Vader relationship. We get so much insight into that. Absolutely. This is a film here, this first 25 issues. In on itself. This would be so good on screen.
Yeah, and okay, so are we going to go as of right now, this final arc, the final 3 or 4 issues, we're going to go full spoiler right now, just as a warning?
Really good point there. I think we should put a spoiler tag on this, just so we have a bit of that free reign to talk, because there's a lot to discuss here. And yeah, good point. Spoilers going forward. If you have not read the Vader series, or you have not finished it, that one in particular.
That's just, the final arc.
Yes.
Especially the last issue. Oh,
yeah.
We'll get into that in a second.
Take a pause and go and read it. Go take some time, put yourself in a corner, quiet room, whatever, read it, finish it, and then come back and hear this discussion. And we'd love to have your guys' input as well. You can always email TSW if you have opinions on this, because I'd love to hear what other people think. And do you shed that same amount of praise on this? Because wow, did this finish strong.
So let's get into it. Basically, the final arc, Vader's on Mustafar. And as we found out earlier, by his choice.
Yes, which is interesting.
That was, everybody thought that he was sent to Mustafar. That's where Vader's temple is going to be, out of maybe the Emperor wanting to keep the dark side embers burning. But no, it was a Vader's choice. So that was a huge wow. And then now here he's trying to build his temple. Now he's doing a lot of, it was very reminiscent of Yoda in the Clone Wars. Visiting, and going to Dagobah. Where it's like, oh, here's this force. Here's a very force-sensitive place. What are your thoughts about, him? Okay, basically he's there, and a lot of the last arc is him trying to narrow down getting this temple built, and using past dark side users to do it.
It was, to me, when I talked to Troy about this from my co-host from the Nerd Room, we put a tag on this prior to it actually wrapping up as being the more fantastical side of Darth Vader, of the Force. And in retrospect, I did the same thing as you do. I flipped through issues 19 through 25, which is the entirety of this Fortress Vader arc that Charles Soule brought us. And it reads really well front to back. The last issue caps that off, this whole idea of the more fantastical elements of the dark side. It reminds me a lot of World Between Worlds in Rebels as well. It's dealing with opening up a door, going to something that is well beyond what we've seen on screen. And I really liked it. It took the entire arc for me to really appreciate what Charles Soule was building to. Issue by issue, I'm thinking, okay, where are we going here? We get the introduction of Darth Momin. He's someone that is new to canon. He seemed a little different. He wasn't a pure Sith, if you want to put that into terms there. he was dealing with a lot of this idea of living, saving lives, saving his own life, the extension, as we've seen, that Sith obsessed with, about living forever. So it brings a lot of great context to that, where the Emperor got some of that information. You know, we assume that it was all through Plagueis, but he gives reference to this Darth moment about learning from that. And so, as a whole, I really, really liked this new end of the dark side. This, I don't want to keep using the word fantastical, but that's a bit more as it is. If you look at what they did in Rebels with World Between Worlds, it's on that level.
And also, as a comparison, it's almost like watching the MCU movies and seeing Captain America, Thor. Like,
true.
You mean they're very cosmic. Guardians of the Galaxy, and you're looking at Doctor Strange. How are you going to make that work? It seems like the cosmic and the grounded realities in the MCU, and then you see Infinity War, like, okay, I got it. Like, you know,
everything's
like,
on the table.
We get it now. You I don't know how you did it, but you did it, and that's the same thing here. It's not taking this force and making it too. Like too cosmic-y, like I said, in the Marvel universe. It's actually, it ties in. It works. That's a huge thing, because Marvel, even with the MCU, could have been a huge whoops.
Oh yeah.
But again, having Kevin Feige and having him overseeing the entire arc, same thing with these comics here. Yes, you have to see the, pardon the pun, the end game. It all has to be laid out for you to go, okay, I see it. It makes sense. That's why you can start where you started, and now you know how it's going to turn out. So,
yeah, and I think that goes a lot to when you're reading a story. Let the author take you through the journey.
Yes,
because good authors, especially guys like Charles Soule, will take you on a journey. It may seem like, where are they going with this? This isn't the Vader that I had imagined being here. I want more of that Rogue One Vader. No, you want this Vader that Charles Soule has crafted for you. I can tell you that with the utmost confidence, that by the end of this arc, by issues 19 through 25, you got to get through each one. And I found even just going through it almost in trade form was great, because you need the whole arc. You need to see where he goes in issue number 25 to appreciate the journey that he's taking you on through this Darth moment, through the castles, the rebuilding of the castles, through just every little word that you see in this matters for this arc. There's not a printed word that Charles Soule uses that doesn't matter for what's going to happen later on. It's all by design, and it's just brilliant. You guys got to get into this if you're not reading it.
Now, okay, so let's get in. Okay, here we are, issue 25.
Yes.
The parallels to issue 4 and 5, or issue, I think it was 4, at the beginning of this run, how we saw Vader meditating, and it was just panel after panel of the what if.
Yes.
What if his kyber crystal was green, and what if he stayed light side, and what if this here shadows Anakin's entire arc from literal conception. I don't know if you want to get into that.
Yes, we are going to get into that.
Okay. Conception to where he is today on Mustafar. Now, there's not a lot of dialogue, but it's a lot of art of, it's basically Vader having this outer body experience.
Yes.
And you see him watching his arc almost like through a lens, like he's almost watching his entire life flash before him. And then you see his mother, and she's pregnant now.
Okay, let's talk about that a little bit.
You get it. Go ahead. Take that here.
Okay, So I this whole out of body thing. So in a final issue of Vader, he spends 90% of the comic not as Vader.
No,
he's as this projection. And I love what they do with the colors here. Is that his arms are light side, his legs are light side. What's been cut off by Obi-Wan, and the middle of him is this dark red black with these beating eyes. It is the imagery there. It goes back. That's exactly. We've seen this used throughout the whole comic series, but it's that issue 4 or 5 where we see it really heavily used. Yep. And coming back to it, tying that whole thing up.
Bookending. Literally bookending.
Brilliant.
Series,
Now, this whole conception thing. Now, this thing caught a lot of people's attention online. Even before I read the comic book, I'd seen this panel and people were debating this idea. So if you've read the book, again, spoilers for all of this, but it's the first couple pages in, Anakin's walking this path, and he's walking through, really, like you said, Rob, his timeline, his life.
Yeah.
And he passes by his mother, who is very, very pregnant.
Yes.
Now, there's a panel here where he's looking, and there's a word that's stuck on the panel that just says unnatural.
Yeah.
And this is something that we've heard the Emperor speak before. But he's standing behind Anakin's mother, who's holding her hands on her belly, and he's kind of waving his arms. Now, a lot of people interpreted this as being the Emperor is Anakin's father. He has something to do with the conception of Anakin's mother, of Shmi Skywalker.
Right.
Now, I didn't read it that way. I didn't read that he had any influence on her pregnancy.
And it's almost like it's Shmi standing there with her arms crossed over her belly, and then you see almost like a force projection of the Emperor. So it's almost like she doesn't know he's there.
Yes,
it's like the spirit. And it looks like he's wielding some dark side influence onto the unborn child.
Yeah, see, that's how I read it. As
yes.
He didn't have anything to do with the Immaculate Conception, if you will.
Right.
He was there watching. He knew about the presence and the potential of the child.
That's what I got from it. He sensed like conversions in the Force. He sensed like balance coming, and he sensed, oh, here's the chosen one has been conceived and is now in the womb. So he went to Shmi to kind of influence, like start nudging Anakin,
yes.
this unborn child, towards where he inevitably ended up.
Yes, exactly. And I think, to me, this reflects a lot of potentially what Ben Solo was to Snoke.
Right.
We see, if you look at the Bloodlines book, there is some instances where she can feel Ben Solo. She can feel the Force. And that's what I was getting out of this, is that he felt the presence. And so he's there, I don't even know if influencing, but he's there watching. He knows this kid is there. The chosen one is there. That's all I took from this. I didn't take it as he had something to do with the birth. Well, he is the father.
No, I didn't say. Yeah, again, I agree with you there. He's not the father, but in the one panel, you see like the little stirring, the cosmic stirring. So it's almost like he's manipulating, or he's getting his fingers anyway. It's like he knows something's up with this kid, so he's getting there early to kind of nudge him in certain ways, and probably watch his career with great interest.
Yes, exactly. And even on that panel, it says the chosen one.
Exactly.
Right? These, like, when I say Charles Soule chooses his words, this whole book is full of that. It's very little dialogue, like you said, but each word matters, and each word goes with individual panels. It's so well done. Like, I've never, I don't think, read a book, at least in a long time, where I've paid attention to every pen stroke, to every color stroke. It does so much. The imagery in here in itself is worth a read. Just flipping through it is brilliant. And there's this one big splash page where he's walking through from his time where we do see the quote, "We will watch your career with great interest."
Yep.
And he walks through, episode 1, episode 2, into episode 3, to the point where we see him lose his first arm. Like, it is something special what they've done here. They're tying to Rebels as well. If you haven't watched Rebels, spoilers here, but there is a battle with Ahsoka, and we see that in this comic book. We've seen Charles Soule, and he's the first one to really do this with great depth, is pulling in everything from the films, but also Rebels and Clone Wars. We look back at the Inquisitors in the past. This book brings in one of the battles with Ahsoka, one of the main battles that we see in Rebels, actually.
Yeah, because they got a panel back to back, her with Anakin, and you see the word in just one word, "fly guy," like basically setting you into position, and then you see the from Rebels, like you said, the Vader battling Ahsoka, and until you get to what is it, the last page of dialogue with him and the Emperor, they maybe use 100 words in this entire comic. Maybe.
It's... What about this? So Anakin, as he's walking through his life here, this is when he's in this... I don't this world between worlds, I'll call it, just so that we have a relative reference to Rebels. He's walking through this, and he meets on the stairs of presumably what would be some sort of Jedi temple. He meets a whole crew of Jedi that we're very familiar. Some we've seen in this comic book, some we've seen from the films. Quinlan Vos is in there.
Yes.
It's the reference to here across this big splash panel. And he goes to town on these Jedis. This battle that he's having in this world between worlds is unreal. The art here, there's no words on these panels. None. And I get so much out of this. It's unreal. Like, what did you think about this Jedi battle?
The Jedi, it's outstanding because again they have everything in there from the Jedi. Shoot, I can't remember his name, but the one that took the Varish vow.
Yes, from the first arc.
Yes, from the first arc, they have him in there. They got like Yoda, Mace Windu, and Plo Koon, and then it just every Jedi he's battled throughout this entire run is in there, and more. It's just it's crazy. Like and again, I know it's done as a metaphor where he's fighting the Jedi. He's fighting the light influence. He's fighting. It's not dream sequence, but like I said, he's in this. He's just walking through his life. He's just going through and even earlier when they saw him as young Anakin having nightmares of Vader, having visions. He look on the wall and he sees a shadow of himself, and
like
it's in the
poster.
silhouette. Yeah, it's in the silhouette of Vader, just like the poster from Phantom Menace. Yeah, fantastic. Like just awesome.
Yeah. What about this tying into the sequel trilogy? As we get to the end of this Jedi battle, the words that are used here, let the past die, kill it if you have to.
Yes.
Come on. This is words spoken by Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi, bringing it full circle into this. When I read that, I was just like, okay, I don't even need to read the last few panels. I'm done.
Yeah, you're done. You're good. Yeah. I'm just and again too, the voice, the one panel where it has Palpatine and then Obi-Wan on either side of the panel. In the middle, it says, "I am your father."
Yes,
and it's not the literal sense of biological father. It's I am your father figure. It's it's the internal battle. Like who's his real caregiver? Who's his real influencer? Like it's just what?
Yeah, it's both sides of the shoulder, and you see them battle it out here too.
Yep.
Right, the light and dark are fighting in front of him in the sense of his two father figures, the two people that raised him, both in the light side and the eventual dark side.
Yeah.
And then we really cap this off with that interaction. And what's interesting about the art here, when he sees Padme from the back, he then flips into Anakin Skywalker from Revenge of the Sith. We move away from this projection, this out-of-body experience, into art where we have Anakin. This is as close, presumably, as he's ever going to get to bringing back Padme, because that was established in the book before this, that Darth Maul did come back. So this is something that is possible. His body came back through this world between worlds, and he was able to re-inhabit that.
Yes.
And
yeah, exactly. And it's the scene of from Revenge of the Sith when Anakin's looking at Padme on the balcony.
Yeah.
And he's like, the whole I love you, and it's like, oh, I love you because you're so beautiful. No, it's very awkward dialogue in the movie, but it's repainted here very nicely, and it takes him to that moment of, and I'm sure anybody that's married looks at their partner and they have those moments where you'll see them chopping onions in the kitchen, and you'll be like, oh my God, I love this person. Like it's that.
Yeah.
Unless you've, and I hope everybody is lucky enough to find it in their life, where you get it. Anybody has a life partner and is happy, they know exactly what I just said without having to say it anymore. Like it's one of those moments you just know.
Yeah, you just know. And then we see him actually lose her again. This time he sees it happen, right? He's never afforded that opportunity because of the Emperor about actually physically seeing Padme die. This time she gets cracked in half by a red lightning stroke.
Yes, and falls off a balcony.
Yeah, this is dramatic, but I think this really plays into this idea that I said at the start about one of the main themes, or one of the main arcs in this is becoming Vader.
Yep.
This is something that he had to let go, right? This idea of saving Padme, because it doesn't really ever come up in the original trilogy, right? It's only something that's present in the prequel trilogy. And so him completing this transition from Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader, we need to see this complete. We need to see why he stopped pursuing Padme. And maybe we'll get more of that content where he continues to do so. But seemingly, like as you go through the last couple panels, he's interacting with the Emperor, and the Emperor says to him, "Did you get what you need?" And he says, "Yes." That's the last line of the book. And to me, what that's speaking to is that he got what he needed, in the sense that he's kind of rounded out that he's come to some form of conclusion as to this idea of Padme himself, this relationship, and he's embracing the dark side. He's embracing Vader.
absolutely. And the second, right after that panel where Padme metaphorically falls off the balcony, gets split in half, she dies. He turns immediately from that Anakin form back into the dark side apparition, and you see him arms spread, looking up, and this guy saying no, 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 like kind of. And I know that's a cringeworthy scene from Revenge of the Sith, but it ties it into like, okay, this is where we are.
Yeah, I like this scene. I like this. No, I'm hearing the no, but I'm seeing this in a bit, maybe written a bit better, maybe delivered a bit better.
Yes, exactly. And also, too, it ties, it literally bookends the whole series, because we started with Vader in the medical lab, stepping like Frankenstein movements off his gurney and realizing that Padme's gone. And here we are, we're finishing with this exact, the mirror image of that, except in his journey, like his mind journey. It's amazing. Like, yeah,
it's so well done. Now, one thing I got to ask you here. So as we finish off, as his journey is coming to an end in this world between worlds, there's a splash page again with no words here, but we have a figure emerging in blue, not in blue in the sense that he's dressed as in blue, but this blue hue to him. Who do you think this is?
Luke.
Yes, 100%. Okay, so I want to make sure we're aligned there.
Yeah, and he sparks up the blue lightsaber. Like you never get to see the face, but you know it's Luke in his Bespin fatigues.
Yes, 100%. Okay, that's exactly what I got off at the blue lightsaber. He lights it up, and that's what ends this whole journey in this world between worlds, is that the presence of Luke. So it's the emergence of something. So he's seeing into the future. He's seeing inevitably his fate.
Yep.
In Luke Skywalker. Yeah,
in the moment he has no idea. What's going on, but he sees this blue figure and with his old lightsaber. So
I tell you, man, this last issue is, I agree with you, this is my second favorite issue in this whole series. I can't remember if it's 4 or 5, but there is another issue. It's the exact same issue, like you said. It's the two bookends of this whole arc, and it's drawn similarly, it's presented similarly, and it has the same amount of impact as that issue. It's next level, man. Like, so clearly we loved this series. Clearly we loved how it ended here. Issue 25 is a gem amongst some really well done comic books. Now, as a whole, how do you feel about this Vader series and it capping off at 25? Charles Soule telling a finite story. Like, where are you at now with this series? Let's go back maybe to the beginning a little bit. You know, you can go back and listen to all of our rantings and ravings about this, more of the ravings. But how do you feel about this series as a whole? Your final thoughts on it?
I think it's great. It was hard. Okay, obviously, let's preface this by saying we are Star Wars podcasters.
Yes.
We are obviously Star Wars fans. We're spending buttloads of money to go to Celebration. Do we have a love for Star Wars? Obviously. So that helps. If you had a same type of series in doing a backstory about the characters from the Twilight movies, I wouldn't like it, because it's not my jam. It's not my thing.
No.
Now, that being said, when we have literally 6 movies and a little scene in Rogue One, or a few minutes of Rogue One, describing this one character and his entire arc, and you're still going to give me backstory, and also have a couple issues in here that I would literally put in my top 20 comics of all time, including Spider-Man and when his Spider-Man confession, when he confesses to Mary Jane, when he Dark Knight.
Yes.
Every comic out there. You have issue 5 and issue 25 could literally slip in the top 20 of my favorites of all time. Now, granted, I saying that being a Star Wars fan, so you got to take that with Rob's grain of salt. But as an arc, like, this has been by far my favorite arc of the Star Wars run, and this includes old Star Wars runs. This includes the campy ones from the 80s. This is the best.
Yes,
start to finish, without hands down.
Yeah, there's I will not disagree with you there. There's nothing more I don't think we can say about this series that we haven't said already.
Yeah.
It is, and I agree with you, it is the best Star Wars series that has ever been put to comics. I would hazard to guess, it's probably the best new extended universe stuff that we've seen, including all the books and all that. I haven't read all of them, but there's nothing I can see that can shine a light to this thing because of the creative freedom Charles Soule had, because of the type of writer he is, and because of his pairing with his artist, Giuseppe Camicoli. This is a top tier, one of the best of all times. When you look at an entire arc, 25 issues, I'm happy they said, or Charles Soule said, I'm ending this at 25. I'm not dragging this to 60 issues.
Nope.
We didn't need that. I was disappointed with the reveal that it was going to end, but I'm happy, like Dave Filoni ended Rebels, that the creator ended it on their terms. They took the story from point A to point B, did what they needed to do, impacted the universe, and it was able to end this thing without it fizzling out and being like, okay, I've seen enough of Vader do this. This is impactful story writing, meaningful story writing.
Especially with hindsight, too. In hindsight, knowing what happens with the author, can you imagine him not being able to finish this the way it finished? Oh,
it's if you guys have not read this, if you guys have been listening to us for the past year or so, I don't know what you're doing. And I think you said this before, Rob, if you're a Star Wars fan in any capacity, if you don't read extended universe stuff, if you're purely a film goer, I would recommend getting this in trade. That's how good it is. I will give this to friends that take no part in anything other than going to the films with me once a year because it's that good.
Yeah, and again, we're probably known as the Star Wars guys in our non-Commonwealth groups. Like, out of all my childhood friends or high school friends or friends from early 20s, whatever, college, university, whatever thing you've been through or work, like, it's like, hey, the Star Wars is kind of a big thing again. They got all these brand new movies. You're into that. Is there anything else? I always point, this second Vader run for Marvel, start there. You'll love it. Like, this is my go-to thing. And it's just like, if you like Star Wars and you want to get into the EU or something else, start them here. I point them here before I point to Bloodline. I point them here before I point to even anything else.
Lost
Stars, even any other podcast. It's like, no, don't listen to me. I ramble too much. Go read this book first, then you can come listen to me. I'll make a lot more sense.
Yeah. Well, that kind of wraps it up for us here, man. It's a full recommend across the table. And I know, speaking to other people in the Commonwealth, Kyle, Troy, my co-host here in the Nerd Room, everyone has the same opinion on this book. This is, I would say, one of the most universally praised books I've ever seen in my life. People have ups and downs. They prefer different art. They prefer different styles, whatever. That's fine. You can read away what you love. But this thing seems to have a massive overlap in your big Venn diagram of readers of comic books.
Oh, yeah.
This is universally praised, universally loved. And guys, get into it.
Yes, and again, we're not Star Wars apologists either. We come to Star Wars loving it, so we're already an edge up. But if you like, there's been runs we've been very vocal about not liking. There's been one-offs where we've been very we don't give it the thumbs up.
No, we say pass on that.
Yeah, and this is don't pass. Oh,
yes,
don't pass.
Well, man, I've had an absolute blast dissecting this Vader series over the last year and a half or so. We've seen some big changes on the podcast in that time, but the consistency has always been there with the Vader and the great discussions. It's been an absolute blast doing this, and I look forward to the future here, man. 2019 is going to be another big year for us at TSW Comics. Like I said, we're going to every 2 months, but that's just maybe hopefully for the first 6-8 months here while life kind of rolls out and while we get this content rolling. I think, and my guess would be here, in the next couple of months, we're going to be talking and breaking down some of this Age of Rebellion stuff, Age of Republic. This is going to be the next big focus over the coming months before we get into this next big Vader series here. So it's going to be a ton of fun. We're going to be meeting up, like we said, hopefully at Celebration here, knocking out some podcasts then, talking comics, talking Star Wars. It's going to be a blast, man. I'm looking forward to 2019.
Absolutely. Exactly. And again, hey, I'm a non-drinker, but American beer, it's same as water. Yeah, exactly. So it's you're not gonna have one or two down there. So and it's been fantastic. And also too, I know I mentioned this before. This TSW comic started with Mark God Sith approaching me saying, "Hey, there's a new Vader run coming, and I'd really like to do a deep dive. You want to do this podcast?" And that's the origin story for this particular show. And again, I have to reiterate, if you need your comic news or you want your and in the nerd room, you guys touch on the Star Wars comics as well, so you're not, as they're coming out and as they're fresh off the rack, definitely check out the nerd room. You guys always do great coverage on the comics and in the moment. So you guys cover it as it happens. Whenever you visit TSW Comics, we'll cover the big arcs. We'll get into the big deep dives like discussions we had today. But if you need your up-to-date comic news, definitely go to the nerd room and check that out. And this way we're not doing a lot of overlap either. Yeah. It's not like you just finished the nerd room episode and now you're doing the mirror episode on comics. No, this is a deep dive show. This is for the diehards, but definitely for your weekly updates, go to the nerd room. Check it out.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I really appreciate that. And like Rob said, yeah, we just cover things at a high level, the big news, and we don't really break down the issues in the same capacity. That's what this podcast is for. I'm not looking to mirror that at the nerd room,
of course, of course, and also too with that's why we do the deep dives, because when we had the underwater Vader arc, we'd have Sanjay asking where Aquaman is.
Yeah, exactly.
$1
billion boy there.
Yes, exactly.
All right, Rob, to wrap this up, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you online, as well as some of the other stuff you're doing over there, the Roman Podcast and TSW Roundtable Spotlight?
Yeah, absolutely. You can check me out. I am Robert MMCast on Twitter, and get a hold of me there for even conversation, or even if you're going to be at Celebration, hit me up. We'll be on the floor. I know I'll be there all 5 days, so definitely have time for everybody. And it's an awesome experience to actually meet up with people. And we never call them fans. It's always listeners and
yes.
Yeah, it's listeners, and it's like you are comic fans that don't do a podcast, so we're right there. It's like, yeah, I can't wait to speak to everybody there. Also, my TSW roundtable, we've been doing two things. We have stolen the retrospective idea from the nerd room and your MCU retrospective, so we're midway through now. So I am now lining up recording schedule for the Clone Wars movie. We have finished the prequels, we finished the OT, now we are at the Clone Wars movie. So yes, we are doing that one. It is a theatrical release that is coming up. I know the Return of the Jedi hasn't been released yet, so that should be going. Look for that. That should be either just released or releasing in a couple weeks. And yeah, Clone Wars movie is coming up. And of course, I've been doing the TSW Spotlight, where I've been sitting down with showrunners from people from other shows from around the Star Wars Commonwealth, so we can do like an origin story, a deep dive. Tim, you and I've done one.
Yeah.
We got into, it was all nerd room, anything you need to know about the nerd room.
Yeah, it's fun.
That was the show. And it's nice for me because I get to interview podcasters that usually do the interviewing.
Yeah.
Or are worried about the recording or worried about this. So it's really cool to sit down with the showrunners and no, this is your day off. It's like Mother's Day for podcasters. Let me take care of anything for you, and then we'll get that out. And last but not least, my Roman Podcast. That's my comedy show. Not child friendly, but my buddy Roman and I get together once a week and have a good time with weird, trending headlines and weird news from around the world. So if you need a laugh and you don't have kids in the car, check us out, Roman Podcast. We have a great time.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I do love it. It's a nice break from this world that we immerse ourselves in week on, week out. I love just taking a step back and be like, okay, pop my earbuds in. This is my Friday, my getting into the weekend. Yes. If I'm by myself in the backyard or wherever, this is what goes into my ears. Because and it's funny because I've even listened to it working out sometimes, and I'm sitting there underneath a bench press laughing. And I had one guy say to me once, "Dude, you shouldn't be listening to funny stuff while you work out." But I was I gotta get my consumption in.
Yeah, exactly. No, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's a good time, and Roman and I do not take anything seriously, and it's just it's really fun. So yourself, where can everybody find you?
You can find me at the Nerderm on Twitter. That's where I hang out mostly on social media. And you can find everything that we do at thenerdroom.net. That includes our weekly podcast, The Nerd Room, which drops every Thursday. We cover everything in Star Wars, Marvel, and DC news and reviews. We just dropped a couple reviews in the past couple of weeks. We did our year in review, and we're doing our year look forward over the next few weeks here. I don't know exactly when this is going to drop, so that may be actually in the past. But overall, we just have a ton of fun. I got my co-hosts Sanjay and Troy, and we just kind of wax poetry about our favorite universes that we immerse ourselves in every single day of the year.
So do you, for those that may have not caught your latest episodes, who won? You have your.
So we do this box office fantasy draft we actually recorded a back-to-back episode. So we've done our draft for 2019, but we're unable to declare a winner as of yet because Troy and I are within $20 million and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is still in theaters. So I do it every Sunday. I do the updates. So you'll see it pop up here on Twitter later today.
Yep.
Or for those listening in the past, you can go back and check out my Twitter feed to see how much closer we are. So we ended up doing just one of the prizes was whoever won got to pick their place. So we just did another random draw.
So basically, all you the three hosts you have a draft in draft form, and you excluded Infinity War.
We did for 2018, but for 2019 we left everything in. So basically, we picked movies, we drafted movies in the same way you do your fantasy footballs.
Yep.
And then
whatever
it's just,
performs.
Yeah, whatever performs your domestic box office, your total for domestic gets you the championship. The other thing that we're putting out there, similar to what's been done before in fantasy drafts that I've been a part of, is the winner is responsible for making the trophy.
Nice. Fantastic.
So at some point here, once we're able to declare a winner, we will be putting together a trophy. So it's a lot of fun actually to listen to throughout the year. And there's some huge movies this year. Huge movies.
Well, and just not to get go on a tangent, but Roman podcast listeners know I am in a fantasy football league with my family and Roman and a few very select, really good friends. And we just finished our 15th year, and we have a cup. And the cup, and everybody asked me, "Oh, you guys play for money?" No, it's all about the trophy.
Yeah, pride.
It's all about. So when you are the current winner, and there's a family event, the cup shows up. Like it's one of those things. And for you guys, like if you win and you have the trophy, and you'll see in years to come, if the guys stop by to record an episode of the Nerd Room, and they got to stare at that trophy with your name on it as the current champion. Man, you get a lot of mileage of fun out of that.
Yeah,
so
it's an absolute ton of fun. So yeah, check us out there every Thursday. Check everything that Rob's doing. It's all brilliant stuff. And then also talk Star Wars as well. Rob, he does, along with Brad, the weekly podcast. It drops every Monday. He's got the Patreon feed as well. You get early release access to those episodes. He's doing fantastic things since the big takeover. He's going to be running up on a year here in the not too distant future. And things are just rolling along with Talk Star Wars. So make sure you check out everything that Rob Wade does, as well as Emotionally 14. He endorses your podcast and mine as well.
Yep.
Our weeklies at emotionally14.com. So make sure to check out everything that Rob Wade's doing, both at Emotionally 14 as well as Talk Star Wars.
Beautiful.
All right, my man. So that's a wrap on TSW Comics. We'll hopefully be back here in, I guess, March, which is getting awfully close to Celebration. So we'll be looking at the run-up to Celebration and looking at some of this Age of stuff as we plow through this series over the next few months. But thank you very much, guys, for tuning in, for listening, and we will catch up with you guys soon. And I hope you're, got those pull lists, you're crashing through those panels, and just enjoying everything that's coming out in comics. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Later.